Hi, I'm Kaylani. 3 days ago, I became a mother to a beautiful baby girl named Lily. I also had a C-section, which is major surgery where they cut through multiple layers of tissue to deliver my baby. And somehow, I found myself standing in my kitchen yesterday, less than 24 hours after the surgery, trying to cook dinner for my husband Jason's entire family while fighting dizziness and pain. I sat on our living room couch, cradling Lily against my chest as she slept. The house was finally quiet after Jason's family had left. My body ached in ways I couldn't have imagined before the surgery, and the spot where I'd collapsed in the kitchen still haunted me. Jason entered the room, looking tired but nowhere near as exhausted as I felt. "How are you feeling?" he asked, sitting beside me. "Physically or emotionally?" I responded, my voice steadier than I expected. "Both, I guess." "Physically, I'm in pain. A lot of pain. The doctor said I shouldn't even be going up and down stairs, let alone cooking a meal for 7 people. I took a deep breath. "Emotionally? I'm hurt, Jason, and angry." Jason rubbed his face with his hands. "Look, I know yesterday didn't go well." "Didn't go well?" I interrupted. "I collapsed on our kitchen floor while your mother watched. The doctor said I could have torn my stitches." I couldn't help but flash back to that moment. The kitchen too hot. My legs suddenly unable to support me, the room spinning as I reached for the counter and missed. The feeling of the cold tile against my cheek. Jason's mother's voice saying, "Oh dear, I think she's just overwhelmed with the new baby." I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. My mom said she had all 3 of us without taking much time to recover. "Your mother didn't have major abdominal surgery. A C-section isn't just another way to have a baby. They cut through 6 layers of tissue, including my abdominal muscles." "I didn't realize that's part of the problem," I said. "You didn't ask. You didn't consider what I was going through. You just expected me to host your family like nothing had happened." "I just wanted them to meet Lily," Jason said, his voice small. I was proud. "I wanted that too, but not like this. Not at the expense of my health." I shifted Lily to my other arm, wincing at the pull on my incision. "Do you know what the nurse told me before we left the hospital? She said the #1 reason women end up back in the hospital after a C-section is because they try to do too much, too soon." "I should have been there in the kitchen with you," Jason said, staring at his hands. "Instead, I was showing off the baby while you were struggling." "Yes, you should have been," I agreed. "But what hurts most is that I told you that morning I wasn't feeling well and you still insisted on having everyone over." "I remember," Jason said quietly. "You said you were dizzy and your incision was hurting." "And what did you say to me?" I pressed. Jason winced. "I said that my mom was already on her way and that she could help if you needed it." "But she didn't help, did she? She stood in our kitchen criticizing how I was chopping vegetables while I could barely stand upright." The next morning, my best friend Nia came over to help with the baby. She brought coffee for herself and herbal tea for me. "You look better than yesterday," she said, handing me the warm mug. "You look better than yesterday," she said, handing me the warm mug. "That's a low bar," I replied with a weak smile. "But thanks for coming over." "Have you talked to Jason about what happened?" "A little. It didn't go very far. I don't think he understands why I'm so upset." Nia sat down across from me. "Then make him understand. You need to have this conversation before you can move forward." "I don't even know where to begin," I admitted. "Part of me is so angry I can barely look at him." "Start there," Nia suggested. "Tell him exactly how it felt to be standing in that kitchen." "It was humiliating." His mother kept hovering, asking where things were, telling me how she always made her special casserole when her children were born. "And what were you thinking?" "That I couldn't believe Jason had put me in this position. That I was afraid of disappointing his family. That I was going to drop their dinner on the floor because I could barely stand." I wiped away a tear. "And then I actually did collapse." "Who helped you up?" Naya asked softly. "Jason's sister Amanda. His mom just stood there saying I was being dramatic. Jason was in the living room showing off the baby." Nia reached over and squeezed my hand. "He needs to hear this, Kaylani. All of it." What if nothing changes? I asked. What if he still doesn't get it? Then you'll have some tough decisions to make, Nia replied honestly. But give him a chance to understand first. Men sometimes don't realize what women go through physically, especially with childbirth. It's not just about the physical pain, I said, absently touching my incision site. It's about feeling like my needs don't matter, like I'm just expected to serve everyone else no matter what. That's exactly what you need to tell him, Nia insisted. This isn't just about yesterday. It's about setting the tone for your life together as parents. Later that afternoon, after Nia left and Lily was napping, I called Jason at work. Can you come home early today? We need to talk, and I'd prefer to do it while Lily's asleep. There was a pause on the line. Is everything okay? No, I said honestly, but I want it to be. Jason arrived home an hour later looking nervous. We sat at our kitchen table, the scene of yesterday's collapse. I've been thinking about what you said, he began. About me not asking what you needed. It's more than that, I said. When I married you, I trusted that you would be my partner, that we would support each other. Yesterday, I needed your support more than I ever have, and instead, I felt abandoned. I didn't mean to make you feel that way, Jason said defensively. I know you didn't intend to hurt me, but impact matters more than intention right now. Do you understand what a C-section actually involves? Jason looked down at his hands. Not really. I guess I just thought it was another way to deliver a baby. I pulled up a medical website on my phone and showed him diagrams of the surgery. This is what happened to my body. The recommended recovery time is 6 to 8 weeks, with no lifting anything heavier than the baby, minimal stairs, and plenty of rest. His eyes widened as he looked at the images. I had no idea. That's the problem, Jason. You didn't ask, and you didn't listen when the doctor gave us post-surgery instructions. How can I fix this? He asked quietly. You can't fix what already happened, I said. But you can make sure it never happens again. And you can start by calling your mother and explaining why what happened was not okay. She won't understand, Jason said, shaking his head. She thinks women just bounce back from having babies. Then it's your job to help her understand. I'm not asking you to choose between us, but I am asking you to stand up for me. You're right, Jason said after a moment. I should have done that yesterday. The conversation continued through dinner and into the evening. Jason's brother Michael called to check in, and I put him on speaker. How are you feeling, Kaylani? Michael asked. Better than yesterday, but still recovering, I replied. Look, I want to apologize, Michael said. We shouldn't have come over so soon after your surgery. Mom was insistent, but I should have spoken up. Thanks, Michael, I said. That means a lot. Is there anything you need? Groceries, takeout? I can drop something by tomorrow. Before I could answer, Jason spoke up. Actually, that would be great. I'm taking a few days off work, but some ready-made meals would help a lot. No problem, Michael replied. Consider it done. And for what it's worth, I talked to Mom last night about what happened. What did she say? I asked, curious. She was defensive at first, but I reminded her about when Dad had his hernia surgery and how she wouldn't let him get off the couch for a week. She got quieter after that. After the call ended, Jason looked thoughtful. Even my brother knew better. It's not about knowing better, I said. It's about communication. If you had asked me if I felt up to hosting your family, what would I have said? That you weren't ready? Jason admitted. And if you had told your mother that I was recovering from major surgery and couldn't cook? She would have understood. Or at least, she should have. I nodded. Instead, you put your mother's expectations above my health. I didn't see it that way, Jason said. But you're right. I was trying to keep everyone happy except the person who needed my support the most. The next day, Jason's mother, Elaine, came to visit. I was apprehensive, but Jason had promised to handle the conversation. Kaylani, I'm so sorry about what happened, Elaine said as she entered. I had no idea how serious a C-section was. Mom, Jason interjected. That's not entirely true. You knew Kaylani had surgery, but we came over anyway and expected her to cook. Elaine looked uncomfortable. Well, in my day, women just got on with things. In your day, I said calmly, women weren't expected to host dinner parties one day after abdominal surgery. You had natural births, which are difficult in their own way, but different. Elaine bristled. I was just trying to help you establish a routine. The longer you stay in bed, the harder it is to get back to normal. Mom, Jason said firmly. The doctor gave specific instructions. Kaylani needs to recover. She's not being lazy or dramatic. I never said she was lazy, Elaine protested. You implied it, I said. When I fell, you told everyone I was just overwhelmed with new motherhood. I didn't mean... What you meant doesn't change how it made me feel, I said. Or the fact that I could have seriously injured myself. Elaine was quiet for a moment. I suppose I didn't think about it that way. I feel like there's something else going on here, I ventured. Why was it so important to you that I cook for everyone right after having a baby? Elaine sighed. When I had Jason, my mother-in-law criticized everything I did. Nothing was good enough. Not my cooking, not my housekeeping, not how I cared for the baby. I guess I wanted to see that you could handle it all. That's a terrible cycle to perpetuate, I said softly. Instead of supporting me, you tested me. I never thought of it that way, Elaine admitted, tears forming in her eyes. I wouldn't want Lily to feel the way I made you feel. From now on, Jason said, we're going to do what's best for Kaylani and Lily, even if that means saying no to family gatherings or asking for help when we need it. To my surprise, Elaine nodded slowly. I understand. And I want to help. Really help, not just take over. What do you need from me? I could use someone to hold the baby while I shower, I said, testing the waters. And maybe fold some laundry. I can do that, Elaine said. And next time, if the family wants to get together, we'll host at our house and you won't have to do anything but show up. 1 week later, we invited Jason's family over again, but with very different circumstances. Jason had prepared all the food with help from his brother Michael. I sat comfortably on the couch, holding Lily and accepting visitors who came to me rather than me moving around. This is how it should have been last week, Jason's sister Amanda said, sitting beside me. I'm sorry I didn't say something. We're all learning, I replied, including me. I'm learning to speak up about what I need. It's not easy with this family, Amanda said with a knowing smile. Mom has strong opinions about how things should be done. So do I said, especially when it comes to my health and my baby. Good for you, Amanda said. Maybe you can teach me how to stand up to her too. The trick is to be clear about your boundaries, I said, and to have allies. Jason really stepped up this week. I've noticed, Amanda said. He's different with you now, more attentive. We had to have some difficult conversations, I admitted. But they were necessary. Across the room, I watched as Jason's mother helped serve the food she hadn't cooked. When she came over to see Lily, her approach was different. She's beautiful, Elaine said, sitting carefully beside me. May I hold her for a bit so you can eat? Jason can bring you a plate here. That would be nice, thank you, I said, carefully transferring Lily to her grandmother's arms. As I handed her over, Elaine asked, How are you feeling today? Honestly? Better, I said. Still sore, but the doctor said I'm healing well. I took a short walk yesterday. That's wonderful, she said, and I could tell she meant it. Small steps. Jason brought me a plate and sat on the arm of the couch. Everything okay? He asked quietly. Much better, I replied. This is how family should feel, supportive, not draining. Later, after everyone had gone home, Jason and I sat together with Lily sleeping between us. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, Jason said. About why I didn't stand up for you. And? I think I've always been afraid of disappointing my mother. But in trying not to disappoint her, I failed you. I reached across Lily to take his hand. The important thing is what happens next, what we learn from this. I've learned that being your partner means really seeing you, not just assuming I know what you need or can handle. And sometimes it means protecting you, even from my own family. And I've learned that I need to speak up sooner, I said. Not wait until I literally collapse. What do you need from me during the rest of your recovery? Jason asked. I want to get this right. I need you to take over the household responsibilities for a few more weeks. I need you to run interference with visitors. And I need you to listen when I tell you I've reached my limit. I can do that, he said. All of it. We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching our daughter sleep. We're going to make more mistakes, I said finally. Parenting is new territory for both of us, but I need to know that we're on the same team. We are, Jason said firmly. And next time I'll ask what you need instead of assuming. And I'll tell you, even if it's not what you want to hear. As we continued talking into the night, I felt something shift between us. A deeper understanding that would serve as the foundation for our new life as parents. The incident that had caused me so much pain had also forced us to learn how to truly communicate and stand together. Sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the strongest connections.